Hi, my name is Jonas. I'm the EcoFlaps fleet sales guy for the Western U.S. and Canada. And we're going to take a look at EcoFlaps today versus the old traditional flaps. And to start off with, if you really want to see a more scientific, if you will, demonstration, go to ecoflaps.com and they've got a link to the website that has the video. Barry set up a wind machine to take to our truck shows to show fleet guys the variance between the wind coming off the old traditional flaps versus passing directly through the eco flaps. The only problem with that is the wind coming out of that wind fan is only 49 miles an hour. And as you know, your guys are traveling down the highways and the interstates at much greater than 49 miles an hour. But for an on-site demonstration, it was good. So what we're going to do today is we're going to kind of mimic the distance that these traditional flaps sail back when you're going down the highway. They ride up behind the tire because of all the air coming off from underneath and between the tire and headwinds and crosswinds and so forth. The eco flaps don't do that. We've taken this solid face and reduced it 75% or 80% down to less than 5 feet of leading edge, and that's aerodynamically designed leading edge that was engineered into the product. Eco flaps are also made out of nylon, a high impact, very durable nylon that should last the life of your tractor and trailer. The rubber flaps and plastic flaps are not nearly as durable. The plastic flaps, they curl, they crack. The rubber flaps get sprayed because, or frayed because they're getting banged against the tires and back against the ICC bar and so forth. We're going to mimic the curl that you see behind a tractor and trailer with a force pounds meter. One of the other differences is that Barry's force pounds meter was a digital and mine is an analog, but it gives you the same force pounds reading. So we'll give it a try and see what we got. So the first thing we're going to look at is a tractor flap. And tractor flaps don't sail as much because there's more drag behind the trailer because of all the room back there for the winds to start swirling around. So my daughter Maggie here is going to press against this, and you'll usually see a tractor flap maybe pushing about that much right there. Maggie, how much you got?
9.
Okay,
pounds
so
force.
9 pounds force here at the bottom. But you're using an angle bracket because your drivers don't want this sticking out, getting caught on things when they're maneuvering around a parking lot or around the truck stop. So you've stiffened this entire area, this quarter top part of the flap. So Maggie, push against here. And what are you getting?
30 pounds force.
Okay, so 30 pounds force up here, and what was down here?
9.
9 pounds force. Now, when Barry tested the eco flaps on the wind machine, granted it was at 49 miles an hour, but it was 1.6 pounds because it's allowing the air to pass through, so there's no force against it. Okay, now this is a bad idea on top of a bad idea. A lot of guys use these anti-sail brackets on their tractor flaps. Not because it's legally necessary, because the law really only applies to trailer flaps, especially in Arizona. If you're sailing 8 inches or higher off the road surface at highway speeds, they'll give you a sailing ticket. So behind the tractor, it's usually done more as a looks thing because you guys all like chrome. But what it does, Maggie, push against this bottom. Now remember, we got 7 pounds force, I believe.
It was 9.
9 pounds force on the first try. So when you bracket this up, okay, what'd you get?
35 pounds force.
So now you've really made this a solid face that's not going to give. And it's like pulling 2 big parachutes behind your tractor. It doesn't really matter up here. This won't change probably because this is all bracketed anyway, but let's try it. Go ahead and push up on the top there, Maggie, where you did before. All right, what are you getting?
40 pounds force.
Okay, so you've really, this is just a bad idea on top of a bad idea. If you're using traditional flaps and you like these angle brackets, take them off. You're really losing fuel. If you use an eco flap, you're going to use less fuel because all that air is going to pass through. Your flaps won't be flapping behind your tractor. They'll stay bored straight at 60 miles an hour, 65 miles an hour. And they're going to last longer than these. They're going to create less road spray. This is just a real bad idea from the beginning. What we're going to look now at is a traditional tractor flap, solid component part made out of rubber, very heavy, at least twice as heavy as an Eco Flap. Now, you get a lot more sailing behind the trailer, simply because there's more wind through the length of the trailer. And even if you're running side skirts, you'll notice going down the road, your flaps are still sailing. So the side skirts don't really help that to reduce that particular drag. These are made out of a cheap rubber, and they really don't hold up anywhere near as well as the Eco Flaps. But let's test the force needed to move this flap back. Maggie, you want to try that bottom one? Now we're going to move it back more than the tractor flap, because trailer flaps tend to sail more. Right about there. What are you getting on that reading?
11 pounds force?
Okay, 11 pounds force. Now remember, Barry, on his wind machine, the Eco Flap only pulled 1.6 pounds force. Granted, it was 49 miles an hour, but it probably would never increase that much, because you increase the wind to 65 miles an hour, because 80% of the wind is passing straight through. Let's get the top here. Okay, that's plenty probably.
42 pounds force.
Okay, so almost as much as the tractor flap,
Mm-hmm.
a little bit more. And I'll show you another, as with the tractor flap, a bad idea on top of a bad idea on these trailer flaps that you'll see a lot more often even than the tractor flaps. Okay, here's another, once again, bad idea on top of a bad idea. And you'll see this more on trailers, because drivers going, especially through Arizona, the law is your flaps at highway speeds cannot be more than 8 inches above the road surface. So a lot of guys will use these, but the problem is they're obviously not always in Arizona. And while they're driving down the road, these are going to use a lot more fuel, because once again you're now creating a very solid surface for that air to have to dam up against. So Maggie, push on the bottom of this one and let's see where we're at. What do you got?
36.
Okay, so we're almost back to the very flat surface at the top that we had on a traditional long flap. And push up here, Maggie, up here towards the top and see what you get. Alright, what do you got?
52 pounds
Okay,
force.
so you've really taken a bad idea of using a solid face flap, and you've made it a much worse idea by putting the bracket on. If you use the Eco Flap, all that air passes through. They'll stay board straight at 60, 65 miles an hour. You'll never get a sailing ticket. They'll last longer. They'll reduce the spray that the other drivers and your driver have to deal with. And Maggie, I want you to push again down here. And once again, her muscles are basically your fuel, because it's your fuel that's it's making the thrust for that to work. And you hold those up for thousands and thousands of miles. You're using a lot of pounds force away from your engine to what it was designed to do, which is to get you down the road. Okay, thank you. Okay, now we're going to look at a traditional solid face plastic flap. And you'll see a lot of these on the road. They're made out of very cheap plastic. They've got supposedly a rain suppressor on one side that doesn't really work at all. They start to curl up and they look pretty nasty going down the road. And they're a solid surface. So Maggie, if you push against the bottom here, a little bit farther, right about there, what are you getting?
22 pounds force.
Okay, once again, that compared to the Eco Flap's 1.6 or 2.0 pounds for force, this is really using up a lot of diesel as well. And Maggie, let's push up on the top here. Not for much give.
48 pounds force.
Okay, so this is just not a good idea. And occasionally you'll see guys that'll have these bracketed as well, even though they don't supposedly sail as much. But if you switch over to Eco Flaps, you'll get your money back in no time. And you'll probably outlast the life of your vehicle and reduce spray and make it safer for your drivers and your fleet. So these beads are supposed to stop the spray, and we'll throw a hose on it and see how they work. They don't work, but I'll show you anyway. Okay, so this is a white plastic mud flap that's got these bumps on the back, these little pimples that are supposed to reduce the spray. Doesn't work whatsoever. Creates, once again, dangerous spray for your driver and other drivers on the road. So this is a traditional rubber solid face mud flap. Creates a tremendous amount of spray, making it very dangerous for both your driver and the other drivers on the highway. And this is the Eco Flap. As you can see, the water passes right through, creating almost no spray whatsoever. And that water passing through, you can also look at that as the air passing through. You reduce the fuel, you reduce the spray, increase durability. There's no reason why not to retrofit your fleet with Eco Flaps.